Hello. Welcome to Season 8 of The Horrific Podcast. We're two friends who live in different places but share a love for scary movies. In each episode, we both watch the same movie on our own and then record a conversation together about what we liked, what we hated, if we were scared, and maybe even some larger truths about why people watch horror movies in the first place. This season, our theme is Make the Wives Pick. Since our wives have to watch these movies with us every week, and often complain about it, we made them pick the movies this season. If you want to see the list of upcoming films and follow along, check out our website at thehorrific.com. Thanks for listening. So say what you will, this wasn't one of the worst episodes of Breaking Amish.
I look forward to those comments every week.
Yep. So had you seen this before?
Yeah, I worked at the theater when it came out.
Okay, I think I remember you saying that at one point, but so I had not, and it had been spoiled for me, so I knew what was coming, but I knew very, very little about it, and so the first thing that caught my attention was this had like an impressive cast.
Yeah.
It had Adrian Brody, Sigourney Weaver, Joaquin Phoenix, Ron Howard's daughter, Jesse Eisenberg, and Kitty from Arrested Development as a character named Kitty.
Yeah.
This was the best. It was
very good. Maybe it just, for some of them cut their careers before they really took off.
Oh, for sure. Yeah. This was, before the Social Network and all that. But, so it was actually like a surprisingly star-studded cast.
Yeah, I was pretty surprised.
It also stood out to me that Joaquin Phoenix had basically the same wardrobe as he had in the Joker, but without the makeup. Like, he really rocks that ill-fitting homemade look.
Yeah.
So
it's almost like you go, like he turns into a child in a way.
Yeah. Anyway. Well, cool. I will introduce this, and then we can get into the details. In 2004, Buena Vista Pictures brought us The Village, a pilgrim horror movie written, directed, and produced by M. Night Shyamalan. The Village tells the story of a remote pilgrim village surrounded by a woods full of dark creatures. As the story unfolds, we find out that sometimes the greatest danger comes from within, and there's a classic M. Night twist at the end. This movie was made on a budget of around $60 million and brought in over $250 million at the box office. It can currently be rented for streaming on Amazon Prime Video.
That's very true.
So what did you learn about this movie?
So I
would imagine there's quite a bit.
There is quite a bit, but also I'll only have one.
Perfect.
So, M. Night Shyamalan, the director of this film, he had a cameo in it. Did you know that?
I did.
Because you recognized him, or you just knew that?
So I actually was looking through the list of actors on IMDb because I was making the notes in the beginning and I couldn't remember Bryce Dallas Howard's name. And then I thought it was funny to just leave it as Ron Howard's daughter. But anyway, as I was scrolling through, I saw him and I was like, interesting.
Anyway, so he has a cameo in it at the end of the movie, basically. You can see his reflection.
Yeah, I thought it was really interesting that they did that whole shot, like, from his point of view, which, he's doing the whole, like, movie from behind the camera, so that was kind of I felt like that was a very indulgent inclusion. Yeah.
And then the other fact I have, because I lied, is Judy Greer, who played Kitty in Arrested Development, also played Kitty in this film.
Nice.
I borrowed that from something else, not from what you just said.
Oh, okay, cool. So this movie had a very early 90s vibe to me. Like the picture quality and the acting and the soundtrack. Like if this came on TBS after Last of the Mohicans, would you really think they came out 12 years apart?
Nah, not at all.
I felt like they were very similar.
Yeah, I wonder if it was because it always seemed like the movie was like misty,
Yeah,
or like just gray.
Yeah.
So or like a wintertime movie is what I kind of thought, a movie in the winter. But yeah, it was. I could definitely see that.
Yeah. Yeah, and again, I kind of knew what the twist at the end was going to be, but I really didn't know much about the setup. And I thought we might be off to a good start in the beginning, because like it starts with the funeral with no real explanation,
mm-hmm.
and then it cuts to the kids finding that, I think it was a rabbit that had been killed and skinned.
Yeah.
And then like in that classroom, they're talking about the ones we don't speak of and how they live in the woods and we don't bother them and they don't bother us. But you also know that like they are kind of starting to, intrude or something. And it's just like it establishes the mood really early in that sense of like unknown and danger. And so for me, it was really good setup for a horror movie. But then it became very much like a drama with horror elements.
Yeah.
And felt like it was very much made for like a wide audience.
Yeah. Yeah, I agree. I feel like the storytelling was really good. Like, just like exactly what you're saying. I thought it was kind of a, cool concept to hear. Gives you a heads up of what's fixing to happen, kind of, who the monsters are. Like, that's how it explains them as a, history lesson in a way.
Right.
But yeah, you were very correct where it's just like, oh, next thing you know, they're just going to talk for the next, 45 minutes.
Yeah. Yeah. And I mean, it definitely had like some humor, like that scene where Kitty is declaring her love loudly at Lucius.
Yeah.
And then it just like immediately cuts to her crying in bed.
Yeah. Like she was so happy and so proud.
And so like loud and over the top about it. And like that was funny. But then I also felt like a lot of the action was off screen. Like you really didn't see like the bad guys or the forest guys very much like doing anything, which you find out later why. But then like you didn't really see, they talked about like the skinned and feathered livestock that they found. And it was just like, oh yeah, that grisly scene is in the barn and it's really gross, but we're not going to show you. And then like when Noah stabbed Lucius, like it was a very like non-violent thing, and then it like kind of zoomed out when he was presumably, getting more graphic. Like it felt like a very shy horror movie.
I think with the whole movie, like it was almost like it was taking you off guard, or like trying to give you that twist. You didn't really see it coming. Getting stabbed. It's just this way of giving you that twist. But I think in a way, though, in a weird way, like it almost makes it a little bit more terrifying. Doing that, like, just all of a sudden showing that he has the knife in him. Like, you just didn't expect it. You don't see it. It really did catch me off guard. And then it gets really brutal when you realize that he's just stabbing him in the chest at the end,
Kind of like you said, it just felt like a lot of it was drama and feelings and, I want to go to the town. I felt like everybody in the movie took turns wanting to go to town for some reason and being told no. And after a while, it's kind of like, yeah, I get it.
Yeah.
But yeah, so then I guess it kind of made more sense later when you find out the whole, I guess the reason why they were there.
Yeah.
For why they were like so averse to loss, or like why they were so adamant about keeping everybody inside like the safety of the town and stuff. But I don't know. It didn't. The majority of the movie did not feel very tense to me, so it didn't feel very like engaging on a horror level.
Yeah, and I think with some movies, like you want to know who the characters are.
Yeah.
So you can feel for them if something happens to them or whatever. But like, but this one I think just went too far with that. It's like, okay, I get it. Like, Joaquin Phoenix is a good character. I don't know. Do you know what movie this actually kind of reminded me of?
Don't say The Witch.
The Witch.
No!
It did, man. For me, that's what it kind of reminded. Which, like, I mean, I didn't think The Witch was, like, terrible. But I didn't think this one was terrible either. Like, I actually kind of enjoyed it, It's kind of same concept. But, I mean, it wasn't, like, obviously my favorite. But
I felt like this was a better movie than horror movie.
Then what?
Like it was better as a movie than it is.
Oh,
as
yeah.
So,
yeah, I couldn't agree more with that for sure. Yeah.
But for such a star-studded cast, I feel like the acting also came up a little short a few times. Like, I did not pick up on Bryce Dallas Howard's character being blind until like an embarrassing way into the movie.
When she picked up the cane? Because that's when I did. Like, it was like halfway through the film, she
So-
picks up a cane. I'm like, oh, like she's at some grass.
Yeah, I saw the
she's
cane
blind.
in the beginning, and I thought maybe like she just like
Oh.
had a hurt ankle, or it was like
Yeah.
a shepherd thing or something. But she was definitely like making eye contact with other characters and stuff. And so it wasn't until I think like the dance or something
Oh.
where all of a sudden she started doing like looking around like where you're not supposed to be looking during conversation
Yeah.
and stuff. And I was like, oh, okay. She finally realized that she needs. It doesn't make sense
Well-
for her character to always be looking in the right place.
Yeah.
Like, did I miss a scene? Like, did they
Yeah.
cut the scene where she became blind?
I was like, this is bad. This
Yeah.
is bad. I should have been paying attention.
Question.
Yeah.
Did you have any scenes that you felt like were effective horror?
No.
I had one.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh, I really didn't.
Yeah, so there is the scene where Ivy, who is the blind girl, is in the woods by herself. It's
Yeah.
after the two guys have left. And she's wandering, and she finds herself in that field of the red berries.
Yeah.
But she doesn't know it. And they do like the shot from overhead, and you can see. And you've been told before that that's like the bad color that attracts the creatures.
Yeah.
And then she's by the tree, and you can see the creature in the background. And it comes running up at her and starts chasing her, and like the music picks up and stuff. That was intense.
Yeah.
Because he had kind of foreshadowed a little bit earlier that when he was a teacher, that there were actually records of creatures in those woods. So my first thought was like, oh wow, she really found one. So beneath, this elaborate hoax, essentially, to keep everybody in the town and in line, there really is some truth, and there really is some real danger out there. And I was like, that's a great twist.
Yeah.
That's a good place where the plot is going. And so that was the first time in the movie that I felt any real sense of like danger, or like there's something out here that we really have to be worried about, or there's something that's like a character that's been developed is now in a danger I can empathize with.
Yeah.
But then you find out that it was Noah in one of the suits that was kept under the floorboard. And so
Yeah.
presumably it had been him skinning the animals and doing all that stuff the whole time. So, once again, explained away by like a very natural thing. And kind of going back to the whole, like, the danger is on the inside, like people are the real monsters. But I don't know. I just feel like that's kind of been done a lot.
Yeah. It would be pretty crazy to be like in that movie. Like if you think about it. Like, so I was kind of thinking like what kind of horror, or like basically how I could make this horror. And I think for me it would be if I were living in that Valag, and it was like was just in that society. I think that's the most horrific part. Some cult stuff, man.
Yeah.
No, I'm not about that life.
No. I did think it was kind of funny that the blind girl made the guy who could see fall in a hole.
Yeah, seemed a little impossible.
Yeah, a little bit. But anyway, it was, to me, that was kind of thing. So then after that, essentially, she makes it out. She gets to the end. You realize that the village is in like this estate that belongs to some old rich guy who got killed. And so what it seems like is his son has walled off this small society of people who have lost people to murder or something brutal in the outside world, who have created this close-knit community where no one ever has to lose anyone, and they can always, be there together. But every now and then someone has to go outside to get, medicine or some kind of supplies. And there are people paid to maintain the property who will assist them. So it's like, okay, but I also knew that was coming, and I didn't know the details of it. I knew that it was actually in the modern world. It was just this like secluded area. And so I hadn't seen it before, but I'd had it spoiled. And once you already know the twist, a lot of this movie is extremely tedious.
Yeah.
Because I feel like so much of the movie was spent trying to set up the twist that it just didn't, a lot of it fell very short as far as engagement.
Yeah. Yeah, I can see that for sure. It definitely makes watching it more than once. Pretty difficult. Yeah.
Yeah, I felt like, it just had way too much drama and not enough horror. And I feel like it was meant to get you really caught up in the moment so that the twist at the end hit harder. But, if it didn't have that going for it, it just didn't really land for me.
Well, yeah. So I think, though, if you are going to have to watch it twice, it makes it difficult. However, just watch it, with a long enough period between.
Yeah.
So, like,
that's what Sarah did. She said,
"Oh, really?"
How it ended. Yeah.
See, that was the thing. It's like the last time I watched it was so long ago. I legit forgot how it did end. I mean, I knew the idea, but I didn't know the meat of the story. And I was like, "Oh shit, that's how it happened." I was back to being okay about it.
Yeah. So anyway, that was this movie, and we made it. And do you want to give our listener a little bit of insight about what your work schedule has been like the past 2 weeks?
Oh, man. Okay. 2 weeks, or I guess it's been 3 weeks. So, like, 3 weeks ago, I had a 18-hour day, and then, like, followed up by some 12-hour days right after that, for a total of, like, I think it was like 56 hours or something that week. And then the following week was kind of a normal week. I only had 6 hours, like, overtime on a Sunday. And then this week I worked from Sunday 10 p.m. to 6 p.m. Monday, like, straight. And 12-hour days after. Except for today was 11. So it's been pretty busy, like, pretty gnarly.
Well, yeah, and then we had our cabin trip in there as well with Donnie. And my world has not been as terrible as yours from a work perspective. It has been a lot of long days for me, but more, just a couple hours overtime trying to get stuff wrapped up. But we've also been in the process of getting moved into the new house. And so it's been, work 10 or 12 hours and then work on the house for another 6 hours or more. Because as we've discussed, our wives have this good habit of starting a project and then immediately being like, I don't know what I'm doing. I need help.
Yeah.
And then I go from like, I'm tired. I need a night off to chill to it's 10:30 p.m. I'm standing on top of a ladder and sweaty and my wife is on her phone on Pinterest. Like, how did this happen?
Yeah.
And anyway, so we've both been very busy, very frazzled, very all over the place. Which is why I don't want to hear any crap from anyone about the fact that last week was just a bonus episode and not a full episode.
Yeah.
And I also don't want to hear any crap about how long it's taking us to get started on our Haunting of Bly Manor series, which is coming. Official announcement, it's going to happen. We're going to put this season on hold for a little bit. We're going to work our way through probably 2 Bly Manor episodes for one of our episodes, just like we did with the Haunting of Hill House. And we're going to do a little like mini mid-season break to cover that because it's something we've been really excited about.
Yeah.
But anyway, that's it for this week. We will be back next week, and thanks for hanging with us.
We'll be back we're gonna keep going. Yeah.
Someone will be somewhere every week from now until sometime. Okay.
And that's it for today's episode. If you've listened this far, then thank you, and we hope you've enjoyed it. We're always looking for new ideas, so if you have any questions, comments, or movie suggestions, please send us an email at thehorrificpod@gmail.com, or feel free to comment on or message our Facebook page. Just search for The Horrific Podcast. Thanks for listening.